What's going on, beautiful people? Daniel Mediar in the building. And today we're going to talk about a very important topic. You know why? Because I meet a lot of people with brilliant ideas, very smart people, but are afraid to represent these ideas publicly because they're afraid of criticism, of backlash, of negative feedback. How do you deal with it? How do you kill that fear within? I wrote down 7 points. And we're going to start with the first point. Reframe the role of criticism. Shift your mindset from viewing criticism as personal attack to treating it as performance data. Now, in this point I want to start with, you have to understand that nobody gives a shit about you. Nobody. The truth is that people have their own problems, and you are the most important person in your own world to yourself. That's why you overreact to criticism, because you believe that you matter to everyone, and that a criticism is actually reshaping the view of your followers to you. No, not at all. The truth is that nobody cares. You're not as important as you think. You are center of your own universe to yourself again. So imagine this. Kim Kardashian gets a backlash from the media. You read the article, if you care enough. How much does that impact your life? Or how much do you care? You don't care at all. And she's in 100 different magazines being torn apart. How much do you care? You don't. You just see her frequently over and over in the magazines and in the media, and you don't really care. You have your own problems. You have your own bills. You have your own relationship problems. It doesn't affect your life whatsoever. That's how other people are going to view you when you're going to face the criticism. Public, negative, backlash, feedback, okay? So you have to understand you're not as big of a deal as you think. Nobody is. But criticism tends to make you believe that you are the center of attention of the whole world. And even if you were, people who are reading the criticism about you, they don't care at all. What matters is your response to it. Now, in 95% of the cases, you don't respond to criticism. In 5%, you do respond strategically if it can improve your reach, your social media, your marketing, bring more attention to your name or to your brand. Because remember, in a society, person who is most loved doesn't get paid. Person who is the most hated doesn't get paid. Person who gets the most attention gets paid. So it doesn't matter whether the attention is negative or positive. If you have views, if you have numbers, if people follow you, look at your stuff, you're going to make money. Eventually, that data gets transferred to your online business or to your regular business with the products, whatever you do in your life. So that is important, to recognize that the attention is the one that pays. The criticism brings a lot of attention because human brain loves drama. And if you're involved in the drama, you can actually use that wave to sell more products or services. It's not negative at all. In 95% of the cases, you just let the magazines do the work for you. Whoever is going to talk about you, other, let's say, reaction channels are going to talk about you. Doesn't matter. You just let them do the work. When do you react to criticism? When do you actually give the response? Well, let's say Forbes magazine talks shit about you. That's when you react. Why? Because they're bigger than you. They're global. You're trying to fuel the fire to create even more mess around your name. Get yourself more attention so you get more subscriptions, more likes, more followings, more views. That's when you actually react, when somebody much, much, much bigger on a global scale tears you apart. You react to that because it just brings more attention. Remember, attention pays. Point number 2. Clarify your leadership identity and values. Fear of criticism often emerges when you are uncertain. That's 100% true. If you are going to be the leader in a certain industry, you must be the absolute professional, and you must be speaking from the position like it's a law. You don't ever invite people into a discussion. You speak in like it's a law. Get inspired by one of the best speakers on earth, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is this mystical good entity, but when you look at the data, he wasn't really that nice to people. He spoke like it was a law. He was used to standing in front of the crowd, and the crowd was sitting down, listening to him. He wasn't inviting people to discussion. He was saying like it's a law. So, you can only do that when you're truly the master of your craft. When you truly understand every single topic and you don't get surprised by any questions. Let's say you talk about the nutrition, a certain topic like a protein or kidney damage, whatever, well, you better know all of your stuff. Because when you do so, you're going to present yourself very, very confidently. And remember, a human brain doesn't care what the truth is. Human brain believes what appears to be the truth and what appears to be the most confident truth. So what the truth is doesn't matter as much as how confident do you appear. Now, for you to appear confident, you really need to master the craft. So make sure that you know your skills. Make sure that you are professional in the industry where you're trying to lead. Number 3, build psychological distance. Learn to separate yourself or learn to separate your sense of self from your output. Criticism of a decision, deliverable, or behavior is not criticism of your worth. Here what I'm trying to say is, let's say you're starting a project. You start presenting this project publicly online like you're supposed to, because all of the attention in the modern world is online. Everything is transferring online, which pretty much already is. So you have to be part of the game. You have to move as the technology moves. Okay, you have to keep the rhythm. So as you are representing your industry, your business, and you produce 2,000 positive reels that have really good feedback, that gave people a lot of value, and a 2,001st reel is an absolute mess, it gets a lot of criticism, you cannot judge your entire leadership based on that one reel. You can't just forget about all the good work that you have done. But humans tend to do that because criticism triggers a lot of attention. And when you feel a lot of emotion from the criticism, again, like in the previous points we talked about, you narrow your focus. You don't see the entire spectrum of things. You completely forget about your work for the past 5-6 years. You just narrow your attention to this one specific reel that didn't work out. And now you feel like a failure. For what? You have 2,000 positive reels where people messaged you how wonderful job you've done, how you helped them fix their electricity in their house or fix their car for free because they watched your video, and you completely forget about it? You consider yourself as a failure because the 2001st reel got a criticism? That's how you got to look at it. You can't forget about all of your work and then all of a sudden change your own opinion of your leadership based on this one reel. Remember, most of the criticism that you'll ever face in your life is absolute shit. It's just, you can't be constructive about it. 5% of criticism will be actually something you can look at, and you can use that information as the data, apply it into your leadership skills, and make yourself better. 95% will be just absolute garbage. Unusable, written by people in their mother's basements, etc. People who don't do nothing. So you can't really judge your entire leadership and your entire work based on this one reel that didn't work out as well as the previous ones. Don't forget about that. Always remember all the good that you have done, and don't narrow your focus on this one thing that didn't work out. Point number 4, strengthen competence through deliberate practice. Fear decreases as capability increases. Identify the areas where the criticism tends to trigger you. Communication, strategic thinking, etc. So when you're constantly getting criticism about something, that's actually constructive. Let's say your communication sucks. Your presentation is not good enough. You're not speaking clearly enough. Maybe you don't have good points. Maybe you repeat yourself too much. Whatever it might be within the communication skills, you're getting criticism over and over about it. This is the criticism that's actually worth to pay attention to, because if the communication is a constant issue, you focus on the communication, you focus on a public speech and presentation, and you become better at it. You learn how to use your tone, when to give people time to think about it. You will learn the right pace where people can actually absorb information and learn from you. Because let's say if you're a quantum mechanic physicist and you go on a podcast with a topic that nobody understands, you use professional terminology and you speak fast, well, thank you. Only person who ever understood what you said were you. Like nobody knows what you said. Even though when words make sense, points don't. You're just speaking too fast. Way too professional. You're going on a podcast that is viewed by general population, not by a group of 50 scientists who are professionals in the same field. It is your job as the leader to adjust the speech accordingly to the audience that is listening to you. So if you want to speak quantum physics to a general public, you have to dumb down your presentation. And you have to give people more time to think and more time to absorb the information. That is the communication skill. And if you go on this podcast as a quantum physicist and you spit everything out because you want to sound professional, well, you will sound professional, but nobody got nothing. You're the only guy who understood. Not even a podcaster is going to understand because you're in a very, very narrow industry that is just not part of everyday's life of 99.99% of the public. So this is the communication skill. And if you do get criticism in the comments that, hey, I loved what you said, but I have no idea what it means. You're speaking too fast. You're way too professional with your terminology. You're constantly using words that are not part of daily life, who require specific education on this topic. This is constructive. You can actually learn from it, improve yourself, pay attention to it. And next time when you go on a podcast, again, you don't base your work on this one specific podcast that didn't work out. You can't forget, like in a previous point we talked about, you can't forget about all the good you've done. This one podcast didn't work out. People didn't understand me. In the next podcast, I am going to speak slower, much clearer. I am going to use the words that people are going to understand. And this is how I'm going to become a better leader in my specific field. Number 5, use your ego. When you're facing criticism, this is not going to be some lovey-dovey way of accepting criticism, etc. When you face criticism, as we mentioned before, 95% of it is an absolute garbage, especially on social media. And when you look at the criticism and you, let's say, speak on the topic of finances and you got $5 million net worth, right, let's say, and you see a criticism from a guy who clearly lives in his mother's basement with Toyota from '87, use your ego. Like, who the fuck you talking to? That's your internal feeling. You never react. Don't ever say it out loud. That's just how you organize chaos within. You know your worth. You do know your value. You do know you're a professional in this topic. Use your ego. Make people sit down and write notes. Speak like it's the law. Don't be shaken so easily. Stand your ground. Okay? And that's how you internally feel. You look at that picture and you're like, dude, who the fuck you talking to? With $300 in your account, speaking on my finances or my financial advice. Now, when you see garbage comments, you don't react to it ever. You don't ever argue in the comments. That actually is going to ruin the public image. People are going to look at you, come on, dude, like you're much bigger. You're much bigger than this. You don't need to react to this. But your ego, if it's not trained and not skilled, will want to defend yourself. And like you already know from previous points, you don't ever react under emotion. As an alpha male, you have absolutely no right to react under emotion. You wait till the emotion passes and you always use logical and rational thinking. The only time, again, when you react to the criticism is when it's coming from much bigger, powerful source than you are. For example, Forbes magazine. If Forbes magazine criticizes you and they write a public article about you, this is a great chance to get as much attention as possible on your side, to your name. So you react to it and you try to keep this routine going for as long as possible and go back and forth with Forbes so you guys can have a public beef. Because in this public beef, your name is going to explode. Remember, everything lives online for 14 days. Tell me the drama and the criticism that was worldwide known 2 years ago? I'm waiting. Write in a comment. Exactly, you don't know. You have no idea. Because it's dead. Nobody cares. Things live online for about 14 days. Then they cool off and then they're gone. Again, we're getting to the previous points. Nobody cares about you. Everybody has their own problems. Everybody's life moves on, even when they read a bad article about you. So it's not that big of a deal that you're getting criticized. And when you see negative comments, you just simply, if it's insulting, etc., you can block it, or you just leave it alone, you never react to it, okay? If it's time to react to the negative criticism or backlash, always come from a position of humor. Always, always, always. You want to show the world you're genuinely not affected, and you consider it with the humor. Now, you cannot do this when you feel a high impulse, when you feel really strong emotion, because you're going to react, you're going to overreact, you will want to defend yourself, and you will say some nasty shit back, and that's going to actually lower your name from the public perspective. What raises your name in the middle of the criticism is humor. You respond humorously. Let's say somebody, a reaction channel, makes fun of you. And it's much bigger than you, so it's a good time to use this criticism to attract more people, more attention to your name. You reply with a meme. Funny meme of a guy who runs this podcast. You made fun of him in the meme. You use AI. You make him wear whatever, clown head. Doesn't matter. You come up with a creative answer. But you always come from a position of humor. That's the only time that's a good time for you to react. When you do so, it's always humorously. Develop a resilient support framework. Surround yourself with mentors, advisors, and peers who can provide balanced, honest guidance. Don't listen to people who never faced any public criticism. Don't listen to people who are not struggling with the same thing as you are. Look for someone who has been in your position or who is much further than you and just simply ask them, hey, how do you handle it? How could you be so careless? Because again, I met in my life many, many, many smart men with brilliant ideas who are just simply afraid to present their ideas publicly because they're not confident enough and they're afraid of the backlash. They're afraid of being in the center of the attention. That's why you go to someone who is center of the attention and you ask them, how do you deal with a criticism? These are the type of people you want to get your advices from. And then you go back to the previous points as we talked about, okay? Most importantly, guys, it's very, very important to understand that nobody cares. Really, it's just big of a deal to you. Not even your hater cares about you. If a hater strolls through your video and they stop and they hate on you in the comments, after about 30 seconds, they keep scrolling. It doesn't matter. And also you have to understand that whatever criticism you're getting, it stays online. You'll never be in a situation where you actually face this negative backlash in person. Like the most hated people in the world talk about it publicly. It all happens online. When they walk the street, everybody wants to take pictures. People are nice to you. So your real life is not affected by it. It's all happening in your mind. And in 95% of the cases, you don't react to it. Now, the last point, practice incremental exposure to higher stakes leadership moments. Gradually take on responsibilities. Now, this is kind of natural because the likelihood of you going online and exploding is very minimal. What's going to happen is as soon as you start posting your videos, your reels, your pictures, the only people that are going to watch this is your mother and sister, okay? And you're going to have one like, and that's from your best friend from childhood who always supported you. We all have that one friend. Other than that, it will be absolutely lost in the matrix of 90 million of videos that are uploaded online daily. So, you will slowly and gradually grow as you're consistent in posting 2 reels a day. And you slowly and gradually, you're going to be exposed to the criticism. This way, you actually have time to adapt. Time to practice all the points that we just talked about. Stay in the center of your emotions. When you feel impulse, emotion, you feel the urgency to defend yourself, don't do it. Don't argue with haters in the comments. They are not there to learn from you. They are there to troll you. It's that simple. So when it's insulting, you can just block it or leave it. It doesn't really matter. The more attention you have, the better. Again, loved or hated people don't get paid the most. People who get the most attention, they get paid the most. So it's really in your own interest to have as many comments as possible under your video, whether negative, positive, doesn't matter. So you will have a chance to gradually practice this resilience towards criticism. Because the likelihood of you coming online, like for example, Haktua girl, comes online, says some shit in the camera, and all of a sudden becomes viral, I mean, that's a chance of once a million. Like, you have pretty much the same chances of winning the lottery. At that point, it must be very tough to be center of the attention of the entire world. Like, even freaking people in Brazil or Venezuela or wherever, they saw the video, they watched her, she got tons of following and millions of followers, subscribers, etc. You're not really prepared for that type of wave of criticism. So that might actually fry your brain. When you don't know what to do, just do nothing. Wait, calm down. You feel high pressure, you feel like you're on the radar, everybody talks about you, you feel like you're the center of the universe. Just hold back. Don't give any responses. Once when you cool off, come back with a response, or just keep doing your job. Keep doing whatever you're doing. When you have a really high wave of attention, it is in your own interest to keep posting through this mess. Why? Because that's when all eyes are on you. Your videos are going to perform the best. They're going to have the best reach, the most likes. Also, a lot of criticism, but again, nothing lives longer than 14 days online. So, you're actually going to have a good, as a normal guy, which is chances 99.99%, is that you're going to come online, start posting, and gradually you're going to be exposed to more and more criticism, so you become more resilient. You can practice these 7 points actually live on your own skin. Are there any good books you recommend to learn how to lead and to react to criticism, hate, etc.? Well, I'm going to be making videos about it. My goal is to make this YouTube channel as the educational online system where you can learn how to be the leader, how to have the mindset of a leader, and also how to be more fierce and ruthless. Because I never met a happy, weak, emotional man, ever. Anytime I spoke to a weak, emotional man, it's always depression. They're always stuck in the past, and when they're facing future, they don't know what to do. When I'm speaking to ruthless guys, they don't give a shit attitude. It's always about the progress and a beautiful vision in the future. And this literature comes from Machiavelli, it comes from Stoicism, from Seneca, from Marcus Aurelius, from Aristotle, from Epictetus. So all these guys had actually really good points of view on life. And once when you go through this literature, you kind of form your own opinion on it. You apply it into your life, and then you just speak an experience to people. And this is what I'm going to do. We're going to build a military of ruthless, resilient men on their mission. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.